It's going to be fun. We had minor tweaks this year, right? We didn't have a lot of flexibility, but when we took over, 3 years ago, we knew we had a 3-year window with this group under their current contract status. Everything we've done to this point has been strategic, maintaining as much potential flexibility as possible heading into this offseason. We try to do that while still building a team that had a chance to compete for a championship. Obstacles came up that were unforeseen. We didn't predict losing 3 people that played the same position within weeks of each other. But we feel like we've got a good enough sample size now to make a decision going forward about what the best direction for the organization is going to be.
Is it fair to say that everything is going to be centered around what Marcus decides?
Well, look, clearly when you have a franchise player that's an unrestricted free agent, that will dictate a great deal of what we do this summer. But I can tell you we have contingencies in place for the decisions of all of our free agents. Clearly LaMarcus is one of the top free agents on the market. He's earned the right to be a free agent and should be accorded the respect that comes with that. There will be a process with LaMarcus, which we will aggressively participate in. And, but again, make no mistake, we've got potentially 8 free agents on this roster that won 54 and 51 games respectively. So we need to have contingencies in place for all of those guys as we build the organization going forward.
Do you expect LaMarcus to take business to other organizations?
I don't speak for LaMarcus. You guys had LaMarcus. You guys have been asking LaMarcus the same question since September. I heard his conference. You guys asked him the same question 8 times when he was up here, 8 different ways. So if LaMarcus isn't going to even answer that question, I'm not.
What about Wes? Are you guys thinking that you come to some agreement and get him back in?
Look, clearly, as evidenced by our 11-15 record without Wesley, in a first-round playoff exit for a team that we thought had a chance to compete for a Western Conference title, we know how important Wes is. Right now, what's most important is Wes's health, his well-being. He's way ahead of the curve already physically. He's been diligent with his rehab. We're monitoring that on a daily basis. We know his value to us. We also know that he's going to have market value around the league. So that's another competitive part of the free agent process we're going to have to participate in.
Is it kind of a weird balance for you this season because you have so many of how to be aggressive and how to wait for your own guys? Like how do you kind of balance the pursuit?
Well, look, the beauty of the fact that some of the best free agents on the market happen to be our guys or guys that we're going to stay in constant communication with. Our communication with our guys and our relationship doesn't end today. Look, one of the things we've tried to establish here, and I think LA talked about it, is a player's first culture. And with that comes staying on top of where they are, what they need, not just during the season when they're helping us on the court, but what they need in the off season. So, we plan to stay in touch with all of these guys throughout the process all the way up until July 1st, and that's when other teams can start contacting them. And, I'd like to think we'll have a pretty good idea of what direction they want to go in at that point. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Does the way that CJ and Myers have played late this season, does that at all change your momentum going into this offseason?
No, but I think what it does is it validates what we've believed the whole time was that, while we do have a lot of free agents, part of our job is to continue the cycle of bringing in new talent. Terry and his coaching staff have done a great job of developing that talent. So we are in a great place regardless of what happens in free agency. We will be a stronger organization if we return a lot of our free agents because now we know that some of the issues we faced a year ago with our bench depth has been solved internally. A lot of people wanted us to solve it from the outside in. We did that to a certain degree a year ago with Mo. We did it again this summer with Chris and Steve, bringing in their veteran help. But building a strong, sustainable model, the way you do that is building through the draft and developing your own talent and seeing what CJ and Myers were able to do in this playoff series against one of the most physical, well-coached, defensive-minded teams in this league should inspire everybody in this marketplace that we have a very strong core of youth we can move forward with. I don't think they have. I think the entire country now, the entire league now sees what we've been seeing behind closed doors. Sometimes, everybody wants to see the guys like Myers Leonard and CJ McCollum, perform on a national stage or get a ton of minutes in games that, quite frankly, aren't always available. Before Wes got hurt, we had an 8-man rotation with Aaron coming off the bench with Steve and Chris. Those guys did everything we needed them to do on a daily basis to remain ready to contribute, but they were doing it in here where only we had an opportunity to see them. So we've had the same confidence in our players, but I think now the perception around the league is that that confidence is merited and it's validated.
What do you think you need with this roster moving forward for next year if you plan on competing?
Well, we've competed the last 2 years. We're going to continue to compete. We're going to compete regardless of what composition this roster takes. I can't speak. When you've got over 50% of your roster that's an unrestricted free agent or the potential to be an unrestricted free agent, it's hard to speculate on what we need come October. What I can tell you is we are a very well-prepared organization. We've got an owner that is as aggressive as anybody, drives us every day to put a winning product on the floor, as you guys have seen. This organization turned around from a 33-win lottery team to back-to-back 50-win seasons and a Northwest Division championship in the last 3 years. So, Paul Allen is not going to sit still for us not having the most competitive team on the floor. We have every resource available, but I can't get into specifics right now because 50% of our roster is an unrestricted free agent. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue to maintain relationships with our guys, make sure that they know the culture we've created here is something that they want to be a part of long term. We're going to build to the draft. It's exciting to have a first-round draft pick for the first time in a year. I think, as evidenced by Myers and CJ's play, not to mention Dame, I think, that's an environment that, Steve Rosenberry, Joe Cronin, Billy Branch, they've excelled in over the last couple of years, is making sure we get the right guy at our draft position. They deserve a lot of credit for that and the work they did there. And we'll be active around the draft, starting to build our roster. You don't wait till July 1st. What I will tell you is we are not going to be reactive. We're going to be proactive building this roster, and we'll start in 2 weeks in the Chicago pre-draft camp evaluating players and looking for opportunities to build the roster.
With Lillard, do you expect something to get done by this summer, by October?
I'm sorry, with what?
Lillard, Damian.
Look, clearly Damian is another, high priority player for us. What a goal will be to get something done. But again, that's July. We just finished playing basketball 12 hours ago. So, Dame is a priority. The beauty of what we're facing this offseason is our unrestricted free agents are core pieces to this roster. So clearly there are priorities. Extensions, Myers is eligible for an extension. Dame's eligible for an extension. Keeping this group together and building off of it is what the goal has always been. That's the beauty of having guys in your organization that you value. This new collective bargaining agreement is favorable for teams that want to retain their players, and it gives us a home court advantage in doing so. So that's what we hope to accomplish.
As career challenges and opportunities go, where does this rank for you this summer?
I think it's an opportunity, Jason. I do. I think, everybody keeps wanting to look at it, look at the downside of it. I want to look at the upside of it. The fact that our guys have value means that they've blossomed here. Guys have built a career. They have value around the league. Most, if not all of them, have outperformed their contract. So, but it's fun. It's a lot more fun than just going out with the mid-level and trying to find a 15th roster spot. It's also fun, and it's confidence building to know that the young guys that you have that are excited about being here have had 2 years of playoff experience, which is one of the things we discussed with the guys. Guys like CJ, Myers, Allen that are just starting out in their career, it's a luxury for them to have played in playoff games at a young age. You have some guys that play 8-10 years in this league and never see the playoffs. So the fact that they not only played, but played well, gives them a jump on a lot of guys from their draft classes as far as knowing what it's like to play winning basketball. So, as far as my career goes, I think it's going to be an exciting summer. But remember, it's not all about July 1st. It's the draft into free agency. There's trade opportunities. Again, strategically, we have a ton of flexibility this summer. Not every decision that's going to be made that will lead to our contingencies are in our hands. All of our guys that are unrestricted have earned the right to be unrestricted free agents. They all have value. They'll be pursued by multiple teams. And all we can hope is that they embrace what it is we've done with them over the last 3 years, and they value it as much as we value them. No, we all play by the same rules. You know, I mean, there's 30 teams in the league. There are 30 teams that know where the cap is July 1st, and there's 30 teams that know potentially where the cap is going, you know, down the road. So I think it's a unique experience for all of us, because from agents, front office, ownership, the league, to see just how much a cap escalation a year from now is going to affect decisions made this summer.
Would you be willing to go into the you're going to be proactive, not reactive? Elaborate more on that.
Well, look, I mean, I think what it is, you know, we're not just going to sit back and wait to see where things fall out. We're going to maintain communication with our free agents, with the representatives. We're going to be very active at the draft. Like I said, we have a lot of flexibility. We have assets. We have a first-round draft pick. So our roster building begins now for next offseason. Now, what form that takes and what variations that takes, we can't control all of those outcomes, but we have contingencies in place for every potential outcome across the board, not just with our free agents, but where we go in the draft, where we go with trades. I mean, that's what we do. We strategically plan. I mean, we've had a 3-year plan in place for this group. We always knew we would get to a crossroads where either this group was good enough to compete for a championship, or we felt we had to go in another direction. And like I said, I'm not going to disclose in April what our July 1st strategy is, but I can tell you that we have enough of a sample size to feel confident moving forward with the path we choose.
What's your schedule once again?
Is the roster the only thing that you evaluate, though?
What's that?
Is the roster the only thing that you're evaluating going after this year? With that 3-year timeline?
What else will we be evaluating? I don't know. Coaches just won 54 and 51 games, so and they just turned. I mean, as evidence now, I mean, they did a great job developing our guys. I mean, look, sometimes there are questions that don't need to be answered because they don't need to be asked, and it's not unfair for you to ask it, but it wouldn't even cross my mind. I mean, Terry and I talk. Obviously, the coaches and I talk, our staff, about how we can get better. We're not evaluating their performance, but look, every day, you know, guys here our owner forces me to be better. You know, I have guys on my staff like Steve Rosenberry and Bill Branch that have been in the league longer than I am that make me smarter. You know, Terry and I talk basketball all the time, and we talk to our mentors about how we can get better, how we can improve. So, look, it's a process. We're continually looking to build a stronger organization, a better culture, how we can get a sustainable model so that this isn't just always reacting on a year-in, year-out basis. And like I said, you know, I think the coach has done an outstanding job this year. I really do. I think, you know, last year we had one consistent starting lineup for all but 11 games. This year, I mean, they had more starting lineups in the playoffs, in one playoff series, than they did all of last season. They reacted. They got performances out of guys. I think during the playoffs, we reacted on the fly as certain guys were more productive in the playoff series on a game-by-game basis. The flexibility that they showed by adjusting on the fly was really impressive. So I think they did a great job this year.
What's your schedule going to be? Are you headed to Chicago and starting the year right away?
Yeah, I mean, not to be too specific, but I'm here this week. I leave for Europe next weekend. I'll be in Europe for a few days scouting. Then I go straight to Chicago. Then we'll be back, and probably a week or so after that, we'll start pre-draft workouts.
Would you guys be willing to go into the luxury tax for you?
You guys are obsessed with where we're willing to go. You know who our owner is? Do you think I'd be the one telling him not to go into the luxury tax if it was going to get us a good player? But look, guys, all I can tell you is economics have never factored into a single decision we've had since I've been here. There is no decision that will ever come up where we have an opportunity to make this basketball team better, and we will refrain from doing that because of economics. Now, look, I take a certain professional pride. You know, we've got a team that for the last 3 years has been top 3 in the league in cost per win ratio. I take a great deal of pride in that just because it means that the organization is being run efficiently and we're making good decisions and we're finding productive players on the right contracts. But I can tell you that if the time came where we could advance our ability to win a championship, money will not be a factor when you're working for Paul Allen.
Okay, wrap it up there.
Thanks, guys.